Welcome to the Smooth Force podcast. It's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Angel Rivera, who is a military veteran, husband, parent, college grad, social worker, and a running enthusiast. Thank you for joining. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. The pleasure's all mine.
I'm not a runner, but when I do run, I enjoy the rush from the run. And it's a feeling that cannot be duplicated from training in the gym. I saw your page, and on your page you have run tips. All right. And one video in particular I really enjoyed. You're mentioning for those who don't like running, imagine yourself without legs. Okay. Okay, could you get into that post? Because I really enjoy that post. Could you talk about it a little bit?
Yeah. In the army, I don't talk too much about my military experience, but I got hurt. I underwent surgery, and I was out of commission for quite a while. And I just told myself, not being able to walk, I just told myself, when I can walk again, I'm gonna run, and I'm never gonna stop.
Mm,
I'm gonna appreciate my lower extremities. I'm gonna love because you true, right? You never really know what you got, what you take for granted until it's gone.
that's true.
And as cliche as it is, it's just it's a reality of life that we're always going to be experiencing some kind of loss in our lives. We chances are there's a slight chance that we might look back and say, well, I didn't appreciate that enough, whatever I had before I lost it. And
True.
in the military, you deal with a significant amount of loss, whether it's
Hmm.
moving from one base to another and having to rebuild a family, rebuild friends. There's divorce, there's deployments, there's what have you that eventually leads to loss, and not appreciating what you have is going to be a part of life for the rest of your life. And
Mm,
it does sound cliche, but I promised myself that if I could walk again, and if I
okay.
can run again, I was never going to stop.
Mm.
And here's where I am.
And so you you had broken bones, or was it stress fractures, or what if you want to get into it, like what caused the injuries? Was it just too much wear and tear, or what was it?
Yeah. So, cause of the injury, we really don't get into too much, but
Okay.
I've had um, two knee surgeries,
Mm,
and two surgeries on my feet. It was bilateral metacarpal or metatarsal
okay.
reconstruction. They put some metal and some pins and some rubber bands in there. Who knows? But those are the surgeries that I've had, and then
Mm.
I've had some metal extracted from my back at one point.
Oh,
So
wow.
I I just remember being at a point where that recovery was extensive, right? There was a lot of painkillers. There was a point after I didn't need the painkillers anymore, that I was using them just to sleep.
Mm,
For about a week after I had already finished recovering, I didn't realize time to flush these things down the toilet. This is becoming too dependent on these pain meds.
mm,
But I went through that, and you know, like I said, it was just the inspiration that was that if I could ever run again, I wouldn't stop. I'm never going to stop running, and I'm going to appreciate my lower extremities. I didn't mean you shouldn't appreciate your upper extremities, but I really love my legs and my feet so much
mhm.
because of what I went through.
Well, let me say thank you for your service, because
Yes,
I respect all military personnel. I have family and some good friends who are former military, so I respect all of them. And I'm not going to compare my injury to yours, but I broke my leg. I broke my tibia in when I was 22. I broke my tibia. 5 days in the hospital, and walking from the chair to the TV was a major task. Really a major task, and I think people take those small steps for granted. And similar to you, once I was able to walk again, walking was everything. I may not be a runner, but walking is everything. I just enjoy being outside, and I remember when I couldn't walk. So I think you took it to the next level where you're a runner, and But we're talking about running. How often do you run, and how far do you run?
Thank you, thank you for that. So, um, I'd say that how often I run is really dictated by my schedule, and I have a family and job and work, and I'm not coming up with excuses, but
Hmm.
some things
That's
can get
life.
a little
Yeah.
cumbersome, and errands can become cumbersome, just responsibilities can become
Hmm.
cumbersome, and you just
Hmm.
you're not able to get yours in, right? Because you're busy
True.
taking care of everything else.
Very true.
But how often I run, there's been months where I've done maybe 6 7 days a week, very light, maybe 4 days really getting it, really pushing, burning the candle. So it might be 4 days out of the week. There's weeks where, like I said, responsibilities are extremely cumbersome, and I might only get one day out of that week. And
Hmm.
but My longest run was about 14 miles. That was a gift to myself for my birthday.
Nice.
For it was a priceless gift to myself for my birthday, just showing myself that I was in good shape, I was in good health,
Very
and
good.
it felt great to complete that 14 miles.
Very good. Very good. And running so much. One day I ran. I was on vacation. I was in Miami on vacation. I'm a nature person, and the scenery was beautiful. So I go for an early morning run. I run 6 miles in one direction. Then I realize I need to run back. So and I
Mm.
wanted to get back to the hotel just because it was just it was Miami. Just wanted to enjoy everything. So I ran back. So that was, I'm correct, about 4 miles each way. So 8 miles. And when I tell you, I was in pain. The
Yeah.
next day, even that day, I was in pain. So for someone who runs as often as you do, you say you do your 14 miles, and depending on your schedule, how many days a week you run. What's the recovery like? What do how do you prepare your body to get on the road and run again?
Well, first of all, thank you for giving me my next run tip for my next video, because I think my next run tip for my next video is going to be just like this. It's going to say, "Hey, just be cognizant of how far you're going, because remember, you got to go back."
That is true.
And
That is true.
most of the time, we leave our phones behind, so we can't call for a ride or
That's
something.
true. Yeah.
So that's gonna. Thank you for giving me my next run tip.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
yeah, you're asking what the recovery time is, and I I love that question because for everyone is different.
Okay.
And for me, sometimes I'm looking at the recovery time, or I'm still recovering and I'm on my next run.
Mm.
And so I'll give you an example of like one day I might have ran 8 miles, right? And
Okay.
I should have gave myself time. If you go into like what the ratio is to, in terms of like how much time you should rest for how much time you ran, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a ratio for everyone, but the 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 bottom line is that for somebody who's new, who just started walking and not even running, ideally, if you walked 1 mile, you would give yourself maybe a 15 to 20 hour break before your next walk, right? or
Okay.
or maybe even a 24-hour break. And in that break, that doesn't mean sit down, in my opinion, doesn't mean sit down on the couch and do nothing. Maybe you may be stretching, or maybe you might hit the weights at the gym,
Mm.
and do
Mm-hmm.
something that is not cardio like, and is not strenuous on your lower extremities. So when you ask what the recovery time is, like, bottom line is that everybody's different, but the rule of thumb is for however much you run, you give yourself a set amount of recovery time. And even if you never ran before in your life, and you
Okay.
start walking, you give yourself a mile. I would give myself a 24-hour break before I walked again, right?
Okay.
If I'm a brand new walker and I walked 4 miles, I would probably give myself maybe a 48-hour time of recovery before getting after it. And this is key. This is key, right? Learning your body.
Mm-hmm.
And and and, and I learned this, not to get too personal, but with my fiance. I'm getting married in 8 days. But
Congrats.
what I learned from her, and I don't know if all women are like this, but I've never met anyone like this. Just the way she's able to observe her body, the way
Hmm.
she knows her body so well that she knows when she's might be ovulating, or she knows when she might be you know getting sick, or she knows when she will she just knows her body so well that she knows what her recovery time should be. So going back to
Nice.
myself,
Okay.
I aspired as a runner to learn my body that way,
Mm,
right? Learn my
mm,
body,
yes.
listen to my body. And I've gotten to a point now where I could run eight, I can run 8 miles, and then the next day I'm going to give myself a break. I'm going to say, you know what, let me just run 1 mile today, or maybe just
Okay.
1.5 mile,
Okay.
and that is what my recovery is. But when I started running, I would say maybe if I ran 2 miles, I would give myself off the next day, and then I would try to keep it consistent with the time of the day that I ran, so that I could, after my recovery day. And there's been runs where it would have been more appropriate to give myself 48 hours. I mean, I gave myself a
Okay.
whole week off
Okay.
after the 14 miles I did for my birthday.
Nice. 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 Now, and is there a particular weather that you prefer to run, or does it matter? Long as you got your sneakers, you're running, or what? How is it?
I'm an outside runner these days. I started off at the gym that I met you at. I'm very
Mm-hmm.
grateful to have met you.
Yeah. Same here.
And After the military, I put on about 75 pounds
Oh, okay.
that was unwanted weight from, you know, I guess,
Just life.
ta
Life, I guess.
well, just the hiatus
Mm-hmm.
of that hiatus, running and then not running for a very long time, and then run for like
Mm-hmm.
2 3 years
Oh,
after I
wow.
got out of the military to
Okay.
start running again.
Mm-hmm.
I got on the treadmill, and I taught myself, you know what, today I'm gonna do 1 minute on the treadmill,
Mm.
and
That's a good
it might have
start.
been walking.
Okay.
And the following week, I took charge, and I said, you know what, let me do. And I started at the most babyest level you could start, right? And as I gave myself 1 minute to run on the treadmill, and I would focus on taking a deep breath in through my nose and out through my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm an outside runner, so your question was, is there a particular weather I prefer to run in? And I prefer to run outside. That's first and foremost, because
Okay.
I enjoy the natural part of that.
Mm.
But I would prefer to not have to run in 110-degree heat,
Makes
with
sense.
real feel temperature, right? I would prefer to not have to run in heat that drains you, right?
Okay.
Anything over 92
Okay.
degrees, I would prefer not to have to run in. I'll still do it just to get mine in, but I'm not gonna be very productive, and I'm probably gonna have to put some sunscreen on. So just the overwhelming heat, and then just the overwhelming cold as well. I'm not a fan of that
Mm-hmm.
as well. It takes me about a minute to 2 minutes just to get warmed up in that cold, and then I want to start taking stuff off, and that's not healthy. I mean, you come out with pneumonia after that run.
That's true. I like what you said. I like a lot what you said, and I want new runners, and I want folks who are just getting into fitness to really listen to what you said. You said you were 75 pounds overweight, and your start point was just 1 minute on the treadmill.
So
That's
walk over. Yep.
walk, run, just it's just movement for 1 minute on the treadmill.
And deep breathing.
You wasn't trying to impress anyone. You just wanted to move for 1 minute on the treadmill, and that's how you start. That's how you start. In my book, the book that I wrote, Broken Words, Mind Built Body, I spoke to individuals about walking instead of running, and I wasn't discouraging people for running. I was telling them you have to start somewhere. If you haven't trained in years, running may not be an option for you. Start walking. Once you walk and you get a feel for it, okay, it's time to step it up. It's time to burn more calories. It's time to start running. So I really like that, and I hope anyone who is trying to get into fitness, who's not into fitness right now, or took a little time off of fitness, they think about that, and that is going to get them started. So I really appreciate you saying that because it makes perfect sense. It definitely makes perfect sense. And while you're out running, is there a just it you have time? I know a few runners, and they tell me it's just they get to clear their mind while they're out there running. It's just them, and they can really they can think about some of my best thinking is when I'm alone, and I would assume the same thing as a runner when you're on those 5 6 that you're on that 5K or you're on that 14-mile run or 10-mile run. Would you agree with that?
I do, 100%. And
Hmm.
I'm not much of a reader, and I struggle with the whole reading situation in college. But I do look forward to your audio version of the book someday.
Okay.
Um, but
It's coming.
yeah, I completely agree with you. And it's what you said in the beginning was just starting somewhere by walking, right?
Yes.
Um, I I'm a believer that walking, right, at a certain pace or at a certain incline or what have you, or even walking in general with no incline, I am a firm believer that a stairmaster or walking in nature or
Hmm.
walking 4 miles, I'm a firm believer that you will lose more weight that way. I agree with
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I agree with you because this is what science
Yeah.
shows, right?
Yes. Yes.
The science will back you up on the fact that walking does help you lose weight a lot faster than running.
Hmm. It's just great for the body and it's low impact. But I respect runners. I respect runners. It's something that I used to run. I was on the track team in high school. I do the occasional sprint, some meets up to the 400. But the running that you're doing, the 5Ks and the plus, that's just not me. But I respect it, and
Mhm.
I love folks who exercise.
Yeah,
It's just so good for the body. It's so good for the body, and it clears the mind, and I just feel better when I train, and I'm assuming other folks same for them. They just feel better when they're moving, keeping the body moving. It keeps us young. There's just so many pluses to doing what we are doing,
I
and
agree.
definitely think you should continue, which I know you will, and maybe I may start writing a little bit more. Time will tell. Uh, I can talk to you all day. There's a lot of stuff I want to talk to you about, but I want to segment that. But I want to know, how can they reach out to you? How can they contact you and maybe find a little motivation?
Yeah. So for motivation, definitely I would say my Instagram and the running tips that I have definitely can motivate someone. But I would also encourage people to really figure out what motivates them as well, other than people's words
Mhm.
on the internet.
Okay,
Using words to motivate you, or memes, or these quotes that nobody knows what they mean and that they just post just because they sound good. um,
that happens a lot.
I would encourage people to really figure out what it is that motivates them, what part of their life makes them feel um, you know larger than life, right? What
Mm,
what
mm,
what it is for them, what it is for them that makes them, and I don't want to say happy because that's really like neither here nor there, right?
okay.
Who's happy, who's not happy, right? I mean,
Hmm.
sometimes someone can make us happy one day, piss us off the next day. But what I'm saying is, I would encourage people to really figure out what it is that motivates them.
Mm,
And
I
and
like
if you'd like to give me a follow, my Instagram is delayed_gratification. You can find me on Instagram. There's a logo with a shoe in blue and black, blue lettering, black background. And you can give me a follow, and you could always reach out to me. Anyone is free at any time to just shoot me a message, and I will try to answer to the best of my ability. Or I could refer you to someone who's far more experienced than I am, because those people do exist. I'm not the Ayatollah of running. And there's some people that I really look up to when it comes to running, and I could always refer them to those people who are really humble and love to help others as well.
and I love it. I love it. In my book, I wrote, I'm a teacher and student of fitness. I've been in fitness for 20 plus years, and I still know that I can learn from someone else as well as teach someone else. So, with that mind frame, I will always continue to learn just because I'm open to learning. And it sounds like you are as well, in addition to teaching. So I definitely appreciate that, Angel. I really appreciate you being on the podcast. You're guest number one. A lot of
Thank you.
guests to come. They have a tough act to follow because you definitely hit some subjects, some points that I think that's going to help some folks. get into fitness, stay motivated, and just be a better individual in general. So I thank you for that, and I look forward to speaking to you in the near future, and perhaps we can do another project similar to this, or time will tell.
Time will tell. I'm always available. Anytime you want to link up, I'm here. I would love to meet with you at the gym. I never felt legs like when we first worked out with legs. That was very insightful for me, especially when you took some weight off because I wasn't hitting quite eight or nine of them. I remember you taking some weight off, and I remember you telling me just do more reps, and that was very inspiring for me as well.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you.
So I really appreciate having you as a friend and being able to
Definitely.
call you a friend. And
I appreciate it. Same to you. I appreciate it. Thank you again. And until next time, we'll keep it going.